Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fan, things are heating up today with the latest news. There is movement around two trades with the Dolphins that could instantly elevate the Vikings level. There is also an unexpected departure that changes more than it seems. In the middle of all this, there are still holes on the roster that nobody has properly filled yet. And to top it off, there is a heavy discussion about Kevin O'Connell's future. Let's get started, because this first story could shift more than people realize. Take a close look at this, because this could be one of those moves that changes the entire offense. The Dolphins have entered a full rebuild mode. Big names are gone, a large part of the roster has been dismantled, and they are clearly thinking about the future. And when a team enters this kind of phase, someone always takes advantage. And that could be Minnesota. There is a real possibility of a trade involving two names that would fit perfectly into this offense, like Devon Achane and center Aaron Brewer. One of them is the kind of player who, every time he touches the ball, it feels like anything can happen. He has insane speed and explosion. He also has the ability to turn a broken play into a touchdown. That is exactly Achane's profile. It is the type of weapon this Vikings offense has not had in this current system. And then you start imagining this guy lined up with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. Man, just thinking about it gives you chills, right? I know. It sounds like a video game, but it is not that unrealistic. That is why this matters. There is internal connection that matters here. People on the coaching staff know exactly what these players can do, especially with Frank Smith coming over from Miami. They know how to use them. And that changes everything in a potential deal. Now, it is not cheap. To land a talent like Achane, it would probably take a high draft pick. And that is not all. You would also have to pay him a big contract afterward. So it is not just plug and play. There is risk and there is heavy investment. That is the tension here. And this is the kind of decision that can define how dangerous this offense really becomes. But at the same time, how many times have we said this offense lacks explosiveness? That one player who can take over a game? On the other side, there is also a more under-the-radar option, but just as important, Aaron Brewer. He is an offensive lineman who has played at an elite level recently. He brings strong protection and elite run blocking, and we all know how much that position became a question mark after Ryan Kelly's retirement in the middle of the line. To be completely honest with you, this second name, even without the hype, could impact the team more immediately, because without protection, no offense works. That part changes everything too. And then comes that debate every fan gets into. Do you pay big for a star like Achane, or do you build the foundation with Brewer? Personally, I am torn, because going all in on an explosive talent is tempting, but we have also seen what happens when the line does not hold up. And look, this is the kind of insight that only people who follow the team closely really see at this level. Now tell me this, would you go for that aggressive trade or hold on to the picks? I want your take in the comments, because what is coming next is about a name who could arrive at a low cost and still shake up this offense in a completely different way. Quick message, subscribe to the channel. It is free and it really helps strengthen this community. Now hold on, because this is where the conversation shifts, but it stays interesting. The Vikings still have a clear gap in their wide receiver group. This is not about the main names like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. That part is set. The issue is that third piece, that guy who steps in when the game tightens up and keeps the offense moving. And now the possibility of signing a veteran who has already played with Kyler Murray starts to come up. And we are not talking about just any name, we are talking about DeAndre Hopkins. This is a player with a major history in the league. He had elite production for years. He is respected in any locker room, but his current moment is different. And that is exactly what makes this decision tricky. He is no longer that dominant player from before. The numbers have dropped. The explosiveness is not the same. But there is something that does not disappear easily. Game IQ, reliable hands, and experience in big moments. And let me tell you, sometimes that is exactly what is missing. Sometimes that is the swing factor. Picture this. Defenses are focused on Jefferson and Addison. That leaves space for Hopkins to work. He runs short routes, reads coverage, and connects with Kyler Murray. That third down play keeps the drive alive. It sounds simple, but that wins games. And there is a key detail here. Cost. We are talking about an affordable signing for someone like DeAndre Hopkins. It is low risk. If it does not work, you move on. If it clicks, it is a huge win. That is why this one is worth watching. To be completely honest with you, this type of move is what separates a good offense from a complete one. It is not just about stars, it is about pieces that understand the system and do the dirty work too. Now, of course, there is always the question, is it worth betting on a veteran in decline like Hopkins? Or is it better to develop a younger player there? Because fans are always split on that, and for good reason. But I will tell you this, when the game is on the line, experience matters, and it matters a lot. And this is not generic talk. This is the kind of perspective that comes from seeing games decided by small details, a clean route, and perfect timing. Now, if this signing happens, does it change the level of the offense? Maybe it will not jump off the page, but it could make everything more balanced. And that matters more than people think. And stay tuned, because the next story is about a departure, and that is where things start to get tighter for the roster. This one has a different feel, because it is not about arrivals or possibilities. It is a confirmed departure. Ty Chandler is no longer a Vikings player. A name that was part of the offensive rotation will not be on this team anymore. And it might seem small at first glance, but when you add everything that has already happened to this offense, it starts to add up. That is where it gets interesting. We are talking about a player who spent multiple seasons there. He knew the system and had been used in key moments. He had his best season a while back and showed he could contribute. He was not a star, but he was a useful piece. And now he is gone. He signs with the New Orleans Saints and moves on. Now, on its own, you might say, okay, not essential. And that is fair. Last season, his role dropped significantly. He had low production and limited opportunities. He became more of a depth piece. But the issue is not just him. When you start adding it up, there was already a departure in the wide receiver group with Jalen Naylor. There was also movement at another offensive position with Ben Sims. And now another piece is gone. Little by little, too much space is opening up. And football does not forgive that. Because sure, you still have the main names. That part is strong. But what happens when the season starts? Injuries happen. A tough stretch of games hits. Rotation becomes necessary. That is when those not-so-important names matter. That is when this stuff shows up. To be completely honest with you, this type of departure is only felt later. When someone steps in and the level drops. When the team needs depth and does not have it. And look, the running back room is now pretty thin with Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, and Xavier Scott. There are solid names? Yes. But there is also age creeping in, especially with Aaron Jones. And we know how demanding that position is physically. You cannot go into a long season with no margin. And then that question starts to creep in. Is the coaching staff comfortable with this, or is there another move coming to replace that loss? Because right now, it feels like something is still missing, and that connects directly to that earlier conversation about a possible trade. Because maybe it is not just about adding stars, it is also about filling the gaps that keep opening. And I will tell you, this is starting to raise a quiet red flag, not a panic button, but a flag. Let me know what you think about Chandler's departure and its real impact on the roster. I want to see how you all are reading this, because now we move into something even more concerning. The positions that are still open with no clear solution. And this is where the conversation gets serious, because this is no longer about a single trade or a specific signing. This is about the roster as a whole, and right now, there are positions that are open in a way that raises concern. Even after recent moves, there are still 3 clear areas that need urgent attention, and this is not an exaggeration. This directly impacts performance on the field, starting with the interior defensive line. Veteran players left that group. And when you look at it now, there is a lack of presence. There is a need for someone who can stop the run, occupy space, and give the rest of the defense stability. Right now, only Jalen Redmond stands out as a reliable option. And this is not a detail. This is the foundation. If you do not control the middle, the opponent runs better, controls the clock, and takes your offense out of rhythm. We have seen this happen. This is not theory, it is reality. That is why this cannot sit on the back burner. Another point, the center position. With Ryan Kelly's retirement, a major hole opened in the heart of the offensive line. There are names like Blake Brandell and Michael Juergens who can step in. They are versatile players who can help in multiple spots. But here is the question, do you want a patch or do you want a true solution? Because center is not just blocking. It is reading the defense, communicating, and adjusting protections. It is basically the brain of the offensive line. To be completely honest with you, relying only on internal options here feels too risky. And then we get to the secondary, specifically the safety position. There is a major uncertainty surrounding Harrison Smith. He is one of the historic leaders of this defense. He is a player who means a lot to this fan base. And if he does not return, it is not just a technical vacancy. It is leadership. It is identity. It is command on the field. Sure, players like Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson can take on more responsibility, but replacing someone like Harrison Smith is not simple. It does not happen overnight, and when you put it all together, Defensive line needing help, offensive line with questions at center, and a possible leadership loss in the secondary. The feeling is clear. There is still a lot of work to be done, and time is moving. The market will not stay open forever. The draft requires precision. You cannot miss at positions this important. That is where seasons swing. And this is not pessimism. This is the perspective of someone who follows every detail and understands where the team can struggle. Because on paper, there is talent, there is potential, but football is not just about names. It is about fit, depth, and consistency, and that is where the risk lies. Now hold on, because the next story shifts everything. This is not about players or positions. This is about who is in charge of all of this, and what could happen if things do not work out. Now, this goes to another level, because this is not about trades, signings, or roster spots. This is about leadership, about who holds everything together when the pressure hits. And the question starting to circulate is simple, but heavy. How far does the confidence in the current leadership go if another season does not deliver results? There are voices outside saying clearly that there is no immediate risk. They say the work built so far still carries weight. They also say what has already been done, including strong seasons under Kevin O'Connell, supports that confidence. And I understand that side, because you cannot ignore that this team has shown it can compete. It has shown it can win games. It has had seasons that truly energized fans. But the NFL does not live in the past. What starts to matter now is the present, and especially what comes next. There is a massive decision happening within this roster involving Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. This is a battle that will define who leads the offense, and that alone can completely change the direction of the season. That is the hinge point. If Kyler Murray clicks, everything could open up. The offense flows, confidence returns, and the team competes at a high level. If it does not, then the pressure hits hard. To be completely honest with you, this is not a situation that allows for a middle ground. Either it works and the team grows, or it becomes a problem that spreads. And what is interesting is that there are people who strongly believe that Kevin O'Connell's system can bring Kyler Murray back to a high level. They believe there is a fit. They believe there is untapped potential waiting to show up. And I can see that argument. Because when you have a well-designed system, it can elevate players. We have seen it before, but at the same time, talent has to show up on the field. Promise is not enough. And that is where the uncomfortable thought comes in. If results do not come, questions about Kevin O'Connell will start to grow. Not necessarily immediate job loss, but the tone changes. Confidence is not the same. Pressure builds every single game, and that changes everything. It changes the environment. It changes decisions. It changes outcomes. So the situation is clear. There is confidence, yes, but there is also expectation, and it is very high. And when those two collide, either the team delivers or the pressure comes down hard. And everything we talked about, potential trades, possible signings, departures, roster gaps, all of it leads to one final point: performance. Because at the end of the day, that is what defines everything. And that is exactly where we need to step back and look at the full picture. And at the end of the day, this is what remains. A team flirting with a major trade to elevate the offense with names like Devon Achane. A team considering a signing like DeAndre Hopkins to complete a key piece. A team that lost players like Ty Chandler and created gaps it cannot afford. And a team still carrying questions in critical positions. There is uncertainty around Harrison Smith and the offensive line after Ryan Kelly. At the same time, there is confidence in Kevin O'Connell. But there is also pressure, and it is not small. Because anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football knows this roster has talent. But now it has to prove it. There is no more room for almost. There is no more relying on potential alone. Either all of this comes together, or the pressure is going to hit hard. Now tell me what you are feeling about this moment for the team. Drop your opinion in the comments. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.